just to pick one again. What is it, $25 billion in gold? They have holdings all over the world. A few years ago, I mentioned that I found out that the biggest porn company in Germany is owned, the largest shareholder is the Vatican, another corporation. So,
well, and also the Vatican, I think it was just, I read something the other day where they were exposing the fact that one of the popes, was it in the early 1900s, went to the Rothschilds and got a loan. And that's why they're saying that the Vatican's been corrupted, because they've infiltrated all levels of government, or all levels of the Vatican over there right now, because the Rothschilds have been in control because of that one loan.
Rothschild lent money to the Vatican. Why am I not surprised at all about that situation?
Right.
Rothschild's loaned the Holy See. Yes, absolutely. 400,000 pounds. And this is in what year? 1850s.
Yeah.
1832, loan under Pope Gregory the 16th.
Yep, there you go. Yep, there you go. That's it. Yep.
So if that's the case, how do you turn this around?
You expose the corruption. And it's awfully funny. If you notice now, in Italy, just got a prime minister in over there. That's another Donald Trump, they're calling him.
Yes.
And I find that awfully strange that he's in office over there, because where's Rome in Italy?
Right.
So I think what's fixing to happen here is that, I think there's going to be so much exposure that they're not going to have a choice but to act.
But it's not Italy only, Mark. We're talking about Poland. We're talking about Austria, Hungary.
We're talking about all of it. Yeah, all of it. And I think, again, it's going to go global. I think at some point the spirit of this patriotism spirit that's arising right now is global. You know what I mean? And I posed this question on another interview I had. I said, is it patriotism that's rising, or is it the spirit of Elijah, like the Bible talks about? That's what arising, because you've got two opposing. This is a spiritual battle. So you've got the spirit of Elijah that's arising, and anytime you have the spirit of Elijah arising, you're going to have the spirit of Jezebel to counteract it. Well, who's in control of the churches right now? Who's in control of the world right now? Jezebel is a controlling, manipulating spirit. So if the churches are in covenant here in the United States with Baal, what's the food source for Baal? Kids. Sacrificing kids. What do we see coming to the forefront? The pedophilia, the child sacrifice. But also, what is the abortion? It is a sacrifice. See, these Democrats, or these pro-choice leaders, they are literally lying to people. They're duping people. And I want the listeners to understand this. That especially if someone's about to have an abortion out there, they don't care about your right to choose. They don't care about women's health. All they care about is for you to abort that baby, because they know that baby is a sacrifice unto their god called Baal every time it happens, because Baal's the strong man over America. So ultimately, Jezebel is controlling the churches. This is why the churches are you see it like they're going nuts almost. It's because they're drunk off the wine of her adulteries, because they're in covenant with her. They're in bed with her. And Jezebel was the one that sacrificed the babies to Baal. So you see the connection, how it starts right here. So, but these politicians don't care about your right to choose. They don't care about your health. They just want you to sacrifice that child. Now, does that mean that your baby's going to hell? Absolutely not. That baby goes into the arms of the Lord Jesus himself. But on the earth, it empowers that entity called Baal.
When we come back, because I have to divide into two segments, I want to discuss with you more prophecies. We discussed a lot of what's happened until now, but you have more to say about what's coming in the future. I also want to discuss the New Mexico compound. A dead body was found there. Children were found there who were reported lost years ago. Guns, training on shooting in schools, terrorism per se. And the people, their charges have been dropped, and the whole compound was mysteriously demolished by the federal government. I want to get your take on that. How can people buy the Trump prophecies, learn more about your work? And I know you have other books too.
Well, I've only got the one book right now. They can go to my website, swordrescue.com. Sword is spelled S-O-R-D, rescue.com. They can buy the book at Amazon or Barnes & Noble. They can order it off Amazon. And we also have a movie coming out on the book. this October 2nd and the 4th. It's a Fathom event. It's called the Trump Prophecy Movie. They can go to the TrumpProphecyMovie.com and they can pull it up. They can type in their zip code and they can order tickets ahead of time because you have to order it because it's a Fathom event.
I just finished reading the book right now. And as of today, I'm looking at the TV hearings for Judge Kavanaugh. Everything you're saying is falling into place. But let's give the audience a little bit of your background. Tell us from the beginning, who's Mark Taylor and how did this knowledge come to you?
Well, I am a third-generation firefighter, or was. I'm retired now, and I was retired out as a lieutenant, City of Orlando Fire Department in Orlando, Florida. I did 20 years on the job, retired out in 2006, and right after I'm going to say probably 4 months after I retired, or about two years before I retired, I started experiencing some depression and stuff like that. So I was kind of getting sick then, and just didn't realize what it was. And I had gone to a family doctor friend of mine, and he had prescribed some antidepressants for me. Well, I took it for about 8 months, and it worked for a little while. And then about maybe a year before I retired, I felt it coming back on again. I couldn't figure out what the deal was. And, I was getting burned out. I mean, one of the stations I was at in Orlando, I served down in the ghettos, and we turned over 12,000 calls a year at that one fire station alone. Cutting, shooting, stabbings, I mean, you name it, we turned it. And so when I retired about 4 months afterwards, I just started taking a nosedive. I mean, I had no energy. I had depression, anxiety. I was bedridden for 4 and 5 days at a time. I couldn't eat for 4 and 5 days at a time. I couldn't get out of the bed hardly at all at times. And I'd lost all kinds of weight. This went on for like 4 or 5 years. I mean, I was having, visitations that weren't friendly, from demons. And then I would have some from angels and stuff like that. And, I just couldn't figure out what was going on. So finally I went to a doctor after about 4 years of this. And, he finally found everything was going on with me pretty much in one shot. He said, Mark, you got a very low thyroid. You got severe adrenal burnout from running on the fire department day and night. He said, you got the hormones of a 70-year-old at 39, because I retired at 39. And he says, I don't even know, I'm looking at your numbers. He said, I don't even know how you're getting out of the bed, basically, is what one of his nurses was saying. And I said, well, I'm not. He said, well, I can see why. And so he gradually started getting me back to health. And then come to find out I had Lyme's disease on top of what comes with Lyme's disease, stuff like this. So it's been a gradual progression of just trying to get back to health. Well, he closed his practice and, because he got a lucrative offer with the hospital. And so I had to find another doctor, and that's when I found Dr. Colbert. So when I found, Dr. Colbert, I got to know him a little bit. I knew they were Christian at the time. And in probably right around, I'm going to say it was 2011, I was watching Donald Trump. Now, this is before I met the Colberts. So I'm backing up a little bit here. So 2011, I'm listening on the television, and Donald Trump was toying with the idea of running in 2012, but he never announced. And so I was sitting in front of the TV, and I heard him in an interview. I didn't know a lot about Donald Trump. I just knew he was a very powerful, wealthy businessman who built this billion-dollar empire. So I knew a little bit about him, and not much. But I'm listening to him in this interview, and all of a sudden, I just heard the Lord say, "You're hearing the voice of a president." So I got up. I came in here where I'm sitting right now in front of my computer, and I just put pen to paper like the Apostle Paul, and I just started writing out what the Holy Spirit was telling me. And that was April 28th, 2011, and I titled it The Commander-in-Chief Prophecy. And it talks about where God has says that I have chosen this man, Donald Trump, for such a time as this. So moving on with the timeline, we can come back to the prophecy here in a minute. But moving on with the timeline, so I had showed this to the first doctor that I went to in 2011, who kind of got me back up to where I kind of needed to be at the time. But Donald Trump never announced he was running, so I honestly thought I had missed it. I thought, I just missed it, it wasn't true or anything, or what the case may be. Well, fast forward to, 2015, and all of a sudden Donald Trump's name starts coming up again. Well, after I had met, was it 2015, I believe it was, I had written a couple of other things, actually it was 2011, I'm sorry. 2011, I also wrote, something called The Great Horse, that there would be another Triple Crown winner coming. And so I didn't know when that was going to be. I thought it was 2012 as well, but it ended up being that it was, in fact, it really was not. But God had other plans. And I had written something called General Eisenhower's D-Day speech. Now, I'm going to try and tie all this together so everybody will understand this. General Eisenhower's D-Day speech, the Lord told me, so I want you to go back and I want you to rewrite that speech, but I want you to address it to my army. I said, okay, Lord. So I've done all this. I wrote all this stuff. I rewrote the speech according to what the Holy Spirit was telling me. I put all this stuff aside in 2011, 2012, and didn't think really that much about it. So I'm in there. I see Dr. Colbert, and I didn't know what to do with this stuff. So I just, we were talking one day, and I said, well, I wrote a prophecy. I'll bring it into you one day. And I brought it in the next time I came in, and I brought him all this stuff. Well, he says, because again, Donald Trump was thinking about running for president again. So I thought, well, maybe it's for now. Maybe it wasn't for 2012. Maybe it's for now. So I take it to him, and his wife took it, and then she took the ball and ran with it and started getting me on interviews and this, that, and the other. Well, I'm sitting there one day, and it was June 6th, I believe it was, 2015. And all of a sudden, we have the first Triple Crown winner we've had in how many years? It was like 20, 30 years, something like that, 30-something years. I can't remember what it was. And I heard the Lord say, pull out the prophecy. And so I pulled out the Great Horse prophecy. And I'm on the phone with my sister, and she says, well, what is today? And I went, oh, my goodness, it's D-Day. Then I heard the Lord say, pull out the D-Day speech. So I had the prophecy of the Triple Crown win, and I had that D-Day speech were coming together all on the same day. 10 days later, I think it was, that Donald Trump officially announces he's running for president. And I pulled out the Commander-in-Chief prophecy, so I had all three of these things coming together literally in a 10-day period that I had been sitting on for, probably 4 years, 5 years. So it was really something to experience. It was very humbling to see how God was doing this. And I thought it was 2012. And I said, Lord, I thought all this was supposed to happen in 2012. I thought I missed it. He said, Mark, all of this was supposed to go down in 2012, because if you notice, in 2012, we almost had another Triple Crown winner, but the horse that was supposed to be running got injured and couldn't compete in the last race. And that horse, he says, go back and look at the name of the horse. So I went back and looked at the name of the horse. He said, and the names was, I'll have another. You know how they give these funky names to some of these horses?
Like Secretariat.
So yeah. So I said, I'll have another. I said, Lord, what's that got to do with anything? He said, no, I'll have another one coming. He said, all this was supposed to happen in 2012. He said, but my people were not ready. They needed another 4 years of Obama and this mess, so to speak, to get up a righteous anger and rise up and say, enough is enough. Basically to instill the fighting spirit in the people, saying, enough's enough. We're taking our country back. Hence enters Donald Trump. So all of this stuff was coming together, and God was bringing this stuff together for me. And it was really an incredible time for me. And once he announced he was running, that set the prophecy into motion, because when he didn't announce, because the prophecy, the Commander-in-Chief prophecy states that when he announces he's running, it will be like a shot heard around the world. Well, he never announced in 2012. He was just toying with it. So that's why all this stuff went down when it did. So I handed all this stuff to the Colberts, and they kind of took the ball and ran with it and started getting me on interviews. And it led to about 60 days before the election, Mary wanted to start a prayer chain. She felt led to start a prayer chain. She started a national prayer chain over the phone. And so it took off from there, and we saw some pretty miraculous things happen even during the prayer time that we were having. We had close to 10,000 people on the line at one time, and we were praying for 15 minutes each day. And we would have a different leader from somewhere that would lead the prayer for 15 minutes for Donald Trump or for our country, praying for the people, for the Lord to pour healing out on the land, all this stuff. So we just saw some miraculous things happen during that time.